Welcome back to another episode of DB Unscripted. I'm your host, Justin Valley Joe, Communications and Marketing Assistant with the City of Daytona Beach. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to subscribe to us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and on the city's website at daytonabeach.gov/DB Unscripted. So you can stay up to date with all of our episodes. They're all archived on there. You can go through all of them, pick and choose which ones you want to listen to. But please be sure to subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. For today's episode, I have a very important person with the City of Daytona Beach. He is our Planning Director, Dennis Mrozek.
Rhymes with Mrozek.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
there we go. That's a good way of doing it. So let's just go through a little introduction. Can you just tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and how you came into not just working for the city, but how did you get into planning?
Sure. As you said, I'm the Planning Director with the city. Been with the city for about 17 years now. Been the Planning Director for 7 years. When I came here in 2009, I came as a planner, and I moved my way up from planner to senior planner to principal planner, planning manager to Planning Director position that I have today. I went to school at Rollins College. I got a degree in environmental and growth management studies. I did that midlife. So planning is kind of a change of career for me. I used to be in hospitality management, so I used to manage hotels and restaurants.
Yeah.
And we had a baby, and this was in 2001, and then 9/11 happened, and I kind of re-evaluated my life, and I decided I was going to stay home and take care of my daughter and my other two kids. Be a stay-at-home dad and go to school at night and get a degree. And fortunately, we were in a position where we were able to do that. So the reason I kind of got into planning and was I grew up in Chicago, and I remember always walking around Chicago and wondering, how does this happen? You know, why are they building here? Why are they doing this there? So I always had a fascination with it. Had no idea of the planning field. It was I didn't know people actually went to school to be able to be planners. And it's funny because a lot of planners kind of fall into it like that. They end up taking classes like an elective class in planning, and they get so interested in it that they shift their major into a planning field.
Interesting.
So that's kind of how I got into it. I've worked for, like I said, I've been here at the City of Daytona Beach for 17 years. I worked for the City of Sanford. And I worked for the city of Stewart for a few years.
And you were doing planning in both of those cities as well?
And I was doing planning there as well. Okay. Yeah. So it's a great field to be in. I really enjoy it because I feel like I'm really doing something for the community and leaving a mark and really working for the people.
Well, I think with planning too, you're directly impacting the residents' lives, and not just the residents, the visitors as well who come here. So it is a direct impact.
Yeah, and I tell that to staff all the time is understand the weight of what we do, not just for today, but the things we're doing today have an impact on what's happening, 10, 20, 50 years from now. You'll see those impacts of the things that are happening today. If there are things, if we can go back in time, 50 years, 80 years, what would we do different? And there's a lot of things we would have done differently. There's a lot of pains that we have right now that we have to live with because of how things were developed previously. So, and we learn from those mistakes, and we think, we want to be able to project into the future. What are we going to do that's going to make the community better?
So, what are your responsibilities as the planning director?
Well, I had a city manager once tell me a director manages people and they manage the process. I've got a staff of about 8 people that work in the planning department, so it's everything that deals with managing people, and we have to realize we're all people, so everybody has things that they're dealing with. Everybody has ambitions and goals, and then we manage the process. I manage a process, so the process, the development process in the city. So anything that happens in the city for development would kind of come through our office. Currently, we're processing, I think it's, last time I checked, about 140 different applications for all kinds of things. We're doing rezonings and annexations and right-of-way vacations, site plans, lot splits. All of those things come through our department. So it's making sure those things stay on track and are able to to get to the end and be able to really be a better community from the process.
So you said you have a team of 8. How do you guys divide and allocate? Who is overseeing what? How does that work? Get divided up?
Well, there's a lot of different things we do. As I said, we've got a bunch of applications that we're reviewing, a bunch of different things that we're doing. What I like to do is when I sit down with my staff is try to find out what their passions are. I've got somebody on my staff who's very passionate about landscaping. So she loves doing landscape reviews, and she loves trees, and she does everything she could to protect the trees and the environment. And so that's her responsibility. I've got another person who reviews for traffic. And they take a look at all of the traffic that's the traffic mitigation that's going on these applications that come in and going through that process. So we kind of sit down and but I also don't want people to get bored. I also want them to learn different things. So we'll stretch and we'll do some things that they're not comfortable with, because I think that's the best way to learn.
Right.
You get a little uncomfortable. You take on some projects that maybe are a little bit beyond you. I'll always be there. I've got a planning manager, Doug Gutierrez, who works for us. Always be there to support staff to be able to to move these projects through. But I really want my staff to enjoy what they're doing and understand that it's for the betterment of the community.
Right.
So.
Yeah, like we said, it's directly impacting our community. Yeah. So the development is a very hot topic, I think, not just in Daytona Beach or Volusia County, the whole state of Florida. It's something that's on a lot of people's radars, and we see it directly on our social media, under our comments. So could you take me through the process from start to finish of a development? Let's say a commercial development that wants to come to Daytona Beach. There's a developer, he's interested in a piece of property. What does that process look like from start to finish? Usually
it starts with maybe a telephone call. They'll give staff a call and say, hey, we're interested in doing this. And then the question is, do you have a location? Where are you thinking of doing this? Because the zoning will dictate where things can occur within the city. So if somebody comes in with a project that they want to do, we want to make sure that they're looking in the correct places to be able to do this. Then once they, a lot of times they move forward past that, and really the first step in the full process is to come in for what we call a pre-application meeting with our technical review team, or our TRT. Yeah. The TRT is made up of members from all parts of the city departments, including public works, utilities, the fire department, building department. So all of these departments come together for these pre-application meetings for the applicant. We do these online. They're virtual meetings. They call in, they explain what their project is, what they're looking to do. The staff asks questions. We help guide them through that process, and then we let them know this is the process to get to that approval. This is what you're going to need to do. Sometimes if it's a use that's already permitted, you're going through the site plan process. If it's a use that's not permitted and you're looking to do something different, you might have to do a rezoning and go through that process. So we will walk them through that process on what they're going to need. After that happens, the pre-application meeting, they go and submit their application. The application is, we do everything online now. There's no paper at the city, so everything is done online. They upload it into the system, and it gets routed out to all the members of staff that review it on the TRT. They all make their comments, they review the applications, everything that's been submitted, and they provide comments to the applicant. The applicant gets those comments, they change their plan if they need to, they respond to the comments and resubmit to the city. And that's kind of a process that goes back and forth until they get to a point where all the staff comments have been resolved. Now, if there's a public hearing required, if they have to go to a planning board or city commission, there's a requirement for a neighborhood meeting before they go to a planning board. So they have to do a neighborhood meeting, and they have to inform people what's going on this project, and they're required to get input, any input that's available from the general public, and if they can incorporate some of the input in the project, that's what we encourage them to do.
Now, is that neighborhood meeting, is it a radius that people, like in a certain radius, that are going to get notified that there's a potential development that's coming within a certain radius?
We've got a couple of ways that we notify people. There's a minimum requirement for them to do a mailing notice, and I believe it's 500 feet from the property perimeter. that they have to do a mail notice to all property owners. We also make them post the property, which means put a sign up over there and say, hey, there's going to be a neighborhood meeting. And the information is on the sign, so if somebody were driving by.
I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a big yellow sign, and if you see that, there's a telephone number on there. You call City Hall and say, hey, I saw a sign over here at this location, what's going on? And we can help fill them in on what the neighborhood meeting would be about. We also do an email blast. Anybody who has signed up with the city to receive information on what's going on in the city will get an email of any kind of neighborhood meeting that's going on if they wanted to attend. So there's a lot of different ways to find out about those neighborhood meetings. So.
Okay. Now, so I look too on our, for example, on our social media, under our comments, there's sometimes people saying that the city is bringing in these businesses. Are we going out there and soliciting these, these new developments?
No.
Or these developments are coming to us with these ideas of building either, commercial, residential, whatever their development is?
Yeah, it's the developers and the property owners. They usually have a pretty good idea of what it is that they want to do. And because that's really what they do. If you have a multifamily developer, they're looking at locations to be able to do multifamily. So they'll come in and say, hey, we're interested in multifamily at this location. And then we point them to our rules, our development rules in the city, and say, okay, you have to follow our rules, here's the rules, and submit your application, we're going to review it. Very few redevelopment staff, they may be going out there and kind of soliciting business. It comes to us usually, and we'll review anything that comes in the door. It's interesting though, we get people calling us all the time about different types of businesses. The amount of, we get a lot of applications that move forward to the City Commission for approval, but we get so many more applications that never make it that far. Because as we go through the process, it's determined that this is not a good fit, and this is not going to work at this location.
So it's not like everybody who wants to come and build is going to be able to build.
It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And like I said, we've got all of these applications we're reviewing. Not all of them will see an approval. They won't even make it to the public hearing process, just because once they realize the requirements that we're going to place on them based on our land development code may be too onerous for them to go ahead and develop the site, and so that they'll withdraw the application or they'll move on. So not every application sees the light of day, and that's what staff's responsibility is. It's to review these applications and make sure that what's coming in is a good project for the city and it meets all of our requirements, and that's what we're looking to do. There are times when we have to modify maybe perhaps the rules that we have established in our land development code don't necessarily work for a certain project. Maybe they have to tweak some of those, and we anticipate that in our code, and we have them go through a plan development process where they can kind of tweak some of those rules in our land development code, and then go through the city's process for approval. But usually that's a give and take. There's a benefit associated with them requesting a modification to a code. So we work with them on that, and we try to make the best project we possibly can get.
So what are, you mentioned there's over 100 applications right now. What are some of the projects coming up in the future that, bigger projects, or what are some things that you think that the public would want to know?
We just had a couple that went to the City Commission last night that were just recently approved. One of them is for a hotel. It's a Drury Hotel located over at where the old ale house was on ISB.
Oh, yeah.
And I think there's a Hudson's Furniture that had closed down. They bought that property. The Drury Hotel Group is one of the best, and I'm coming from somebody who's worked in the hotel business. It is one of the best run hotel groups I've been around. Their customer service is like Ritz-Carlton and then them on customer service.
It's a great location too, right off of 95, and I-4 is right down the street.
Fantastic location for them. It's their first introduction here into Daytona Beach. We're very excited about them coming over here. And we also had a hotel project that was a 5-star hotel project that was approved over on Beachside, just south of Silver Beach last night. That we have not seen a 5-star hotel come into the city of Daytona Beach. So
is that the one? I just want to make sure I understand correctly. Is that the one that's on the corner of A1A and?
It's actually on the corner of A1A and Silver Beach. A project called the Silver Beach Hotel. This hotel is called the Pearl Beach Club, and that's about I think it's 3 lots south of that location.
So it's close.
It's on a vacant lot right now. There's no building on there, and that's where they're looking to do that. So we're really excited about that. Big projects that we have that are in the queue that probably won't see any activity for maybe a couple of years, where people won't see the activity out there. Avalon's a big project. A lot of people are concerned about Avalon. Avalon is located, their property is located in the northwest quadrant of the city, off of Granada. The city, people aren't aware that the city of Daytona Beach actually goes all the way up to
because it borders Ormond Beach, but it is Daytona Beach.
Right, and we have no development right now up there. Right now it's all just vacant land. They haven't done anything with the property yet. But Avalon is a mixed-use community that they really meet most of the standards that have been established in what we would consider smart growth. And everybody's talking about, oh, we need to grow smarter, smart growth. Well, smart growth is actually, there's 10 principles to smart growth that make a project a good project. And the Avalon project is ticking all of those boxes on being a smart growth and a good project. It's almost like a community within a community. It's a place where you can live, you can work, you can play, you can shop, all of that within the same community.
Is this like a miniature version of Venetian Bay?
And I'm not as familiar with Venetian Bay, but this would be if Venetian Bay has a little
they have
downtown
restaurants,
area.
they have
Yes.
little shopping area, little retail areas.
It would be very similar to that. And it's like its own little community. They have a little downtown core, a little town center. They have government buildings down there. They have a fire station. They've got schools. They've got retail, office, all of that in a core, and then it spreads out, and then you have different housing types. You've got townhomes, you've got single-family homes, multifamily.
That's exactly how Venetian Bay is. It's mixed with a single-family and multi.
Yeah.
So.
And that's another important aspect of smart growth, is having a mix of housing types within a community. So we're excited about that project. That's another good one.
Okay. So I got one from a personal standpoint. Do you know where we're at with Entrada? Just because I have been intrigued with Entrada for a while now, so I'm curious of when they are going to break ground on that.
Well, Entrada is a great project, and Entrada is located at the corner of ISB and LPGA, and they call it Entrada because really it's like an entrance to the city. As you're coming down on ISB, you got that property right there.
Yeah.
That's another little mixed-use development where they want to do a grocery store, some retail, and then there's some residential, I think some townhomes, and maybe some single-family back there. They're allowed to do that. We haven't seen the plan yet come in for that. This was approved by the City Commission in a rezoning to be able to do these uses. They have not yet come in with their plans. They're usually come in with a plat to separate the property out, and a site plan, construction plans to get the infrastructure in place. They haven't done that yet. However, my boss, Jim Morris, was in communication with the property owner, and there was a couple of things that he needed to do for the property. He's got those wrapped up, and he's getting ready to submit for that application. Cool. Great project. That's a great location for a grocery store.
That's what I'm thinking for me personally. Yeah. When I come home from work, that would be a great place for me to stop by, where I don't really have to go off, ISB too far. I don't have to go, too far down the road. And I love Target. It's great, but Target doesn't have groceries, so this is a great opportunity where I can be able to do my grocery shopping. And
what some people don't realize is when we do, the LPGA area, when I came here in 2009, the only thing that we had really that was west of 95, we had the LPGA community with residential uses, a bunch of houses out there, single family mostly. There were a couple of townhomes, and then not counting Tomoka Farms Road with the auto mall that was going over there. So there really was no commercial businesses out on that side of 95. So anybody who needed anything would have to travel on the other side of 95 to be able to get it.
Right, because there's a lot of residential that's
a lot
there
of
now.
residential. So all these people living over there, but all of their needs are on the other side of 95. So a few years ago, after Margaritaville came in, the project, the Publix came in over there at that location on LPGA. That stopped a lot of people from traveling to Ormond Beach, down to Bevel to Publix or to other grocery stores. Everything stayed within the community. So really what it did, it reduced trips in other parts of the city and brought everything kind of over here. And this is part of the mixed-use development. Everything kind of stays centrally located. We've got a couple other small retail projects that we're looking at going on also in the LPGA corridor. These are good things that help reduce traffic, reduce trips for people who are living there. You know, it'd be nice to have a place near the residential where maybe you wanted a sandwich or you wanted to get your hair cut. You can either take a car there, you can walk there, take your bike there. Nice and local, you can do that without driving on the other side of 95. So those are very important for putting that whole package together. And all of that was anticipated years ago when the LPGA community was originally approved as a development of regional impact. It was the residential and all of this commercial. Well, the commercial never happened. It was always behind the residential. So what we're seeing now is that commercial is coming in and filling those gaps. It's an unmet need right now in that area, and it's development. I know people, you know, they talk about traffic, but this is actually something that will reduce traffic in the area, and it's important for the mix.
So yeah, that's great. Just because I know I live out there too, so it's and there's, for me, there's alternatives for when I travel. I don't typically try to go down LPGA right now. I'd like to go down Grand Champion and ISB, and there's other ways that I'm able to get around town too. So, but it's great to know that, you know, there's commercial coming there as well, and retail. You know, for the neighborhoods, so you don't have to travel. That's a new way of looking. That's a different perspective I've never looked at before. Right. Seeing it from, okay, this is an opportunity to reduce traffic, not, you know, create more traffic.
You know, another thing about that, you know, when LPGA was originally designed and anticipated, they had the areas where the residential was going to occur and where the commercial was going to occur. What a lot of people don't realize is, at that time, they preserved a lot of area that was west of the city. There's about 10,000 acres. And Mosaic is probably the kind of the line as far west as we have development right off of LPGA. After that, there's nothing, and there will be nothing to the borders of the city.
Is that what Tiger Bay is?
That's where Tiger Bay is. At some points, it's 5 miles past where Mosaic is where the city borderlines. So those are all areas that are protected. They're in conservation area or preservation areas. There's going to be no building over there. People ask, you know, where are the animals going to go when this property gets developed? Well, that was anticipated. That's why the 10,000 acres in the city are located over there to have. I mean,
you have answers to all the questions. I think we should give you our Facebook account so you can answer so many questions.
But you know, and the thing is, and then after that, it's Tiger Bay. Then you've got, you know, thousands more acres of available undeveloped property that'll remain undeveloped, and that's really important. Volusia County is great about you know, really keeping the undeveloped property and the natural area natural. And as a city of Daytona Beach, we, you know, what I tell my staff is we are a city. We have to act like a city. We're not the county. We're not a rural area. We don't have, you know, acre lots. We are a city. We're dense. We have things here. We have traffic here. This is not unusual.
And people want to live here too. You have people who are moving in, so it.
Yeah, people are moving in all the time. It's. And I was having a conversation with somebody earlier, a local who was born and raised, and I've lived in Florida for about 35 years, originally from Chicago. But you know, people who are born and raised here, they've seen a lot of changes occur,
right, yeah.
And they know that change is going to happen, and they see positive things that are happening. There may be some things that they would not, you know, like to change, but for the most part, they remember what it was before, and they see the positive things that are happening. Where I've found a lot of people that move down here, the transplants, who've been here 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. They moved down here because they loved the area. They saw what was here, and they loved it. But they've almost bought into like a snapshot of that moment in time. That's where they moved here, and they want to keep that in perpetuity. Well, that's not the way a city works. A city is dynamic. A city is fluid. A city is going to change.
You're not staying the same.
You have to stay nimble, and so there are going to be changes. You know, and it's not going to be that, you know, what it was 10 years ago. It's going to change. So we always try to change for the better. You know, there is traffic, but there's traffic everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I've had somebody tell me that, you know, there was traffic in the morning, and when they come home from work, and I'm like, well, that's rush hour, and that occurs just about in every city in the world.
Everywhere.
And we're going to find that.
You're not escaping that.
And you know, we're doing what we can. A lot of the roads, that are located within the city are actually county roads or state roads. So we don't really have a lot of control over the timing of when they get redeveloped. We will work with the county. We work with the county on a regular basis. All of this new development that comes in, they are required to meet concurrency requirements with the Florida Growth Management Act, which means they have to pay for any impact that they put into the system. So any traffic that they generate that would require roads to be improved, they have to pay their share of the improvement to do those to those road improvements. So we've collected probably about $40–50 million from these from the developers for these road improvements over the past, I'd say, 8 to 10 years. So this is a constant process where we're looking at the improvements and where things are going. So the money comes in, it goes to the county, and the county dictates where those improvements are gonna happen. LPGA is always, looked at. The county is looking at that. The county is actually looking at giving that over to the state, and the state would take responsibility for that. But there are plans to improve LPGA all the way past to Williamson and changing the interchange there at 95.
And I know that's a hot spot too in Daytona Beach, but there's development in other areas. Like I was telling Mr. Fiatra when I had him as he was my first guest. I'm born and raised in Daytona Beach, and I remember, so I went to college in Georgia, so I remember when I graduated high school, I came back from my freshman year of college, and I noticed this new thing that's out here on International, and it ended up becoming One Daytona. So I'm like, okay, well, there's something to do there now. They built the movies, they had Bass Pro Shop there, they had a couple restaurants that were already there. And I'm like, man, I wish that was here when I was a kid, because all we had when I know I'm not even old, but I feel like I'm talking like I'm old when I say like, man, back in my day. But when I was younger, all we had was the mall and Ocean Walk. Right. That was pretty much like, that was our entertainment for Daytona Beach. There wasn't
and the beach.
Yeah, sorry, I know. That's how you know I'm from here, because I don't even look at that anymore.
It's just always there.
Yeah. But there was no Tanger outlets. There wasn't Tomoka Town Center. There wasn't One Daytona. There wasn't all these things. We did have Daytona Lagoon, but for the most part, it was, hey, Mom, can you drop me off at the mall with my friends? And that's what we were doing on the weekend. So from my perspective, it's great to see that there's so many things, again, not just for our residents, but for our visitors to do here too. We have visitors that they're going to enjoy going to the beach, but they might want to go do shopping while they're on vacation or whatever. Now you have Tomoka Town Center and Tanger outlets that are an option. You have One Daytona that has retail now. So I've seen the growth. There's things to do other than shopping as well. We have so many things.
To do.
Pop Stroke, that's fun for people.
Right.
Game Time, Dave & Buster's. My first date with my wife was at Dave & Buster's. Like, there's so many. Ocean Walk has the 3D glow in the dark miniature golf. There's a new paint place that's right on Beachside too, underneath.
You got the aquarium, you got the museum.
There's so many things to do. Yeah. And for me to see, okay, I'm 29. 15 years ago, this stuff wasn't here. Right. So I'm looking at the perspective that we are growing as a city, and that's part of, like you said, that's part of being a city. You have to be able to grow. You got to be able to move and adjust, and like you said, it's fluid. So I've seen it personally from my standpoint too.
Well, we've seen a lot of people move not only to Daytona Beach, really to Florida, especially over the last 10 years. It's interesting because when we look at the population growth of the city of Daytona Beach, between 2000 and 2010, we actually saw a decrease in population. Volusia County remained steady with an increase in population. Florida had the same growth population over that time. The city of Daytona Beach saw a decrease. Over the past 10 years, 15 years, I think it's almost a market correction. Where the people were leaving before, it left kind of a void, a gap. What we've seen over the last 15 years is that gap got filled. So what seemed like this incredible growth actually puts us back on the path that we were going to be on anyway. So that's what we were looking at. So for me, it was really exciting. It's a real busy time in the planning department.
I
got a
know
lot
you
of
guys
activity.
stay busy every day. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't imagine keeping up with all the applicants that you guys are dealing with right now. So I have a question too. You mentioned, I just want to touch on this for a second. You mentioned earlier about the zoning for different developments. Can you break down what is zoning and why it matters?
Yeah, well, I think it starts with the comprehensive plan, and that's not zoning. Our comprehensive plan is required by the state, and it's basic land uses that we have on all properties in the city, and kind of what their intensity or density is. So how much building can go on there, and how many residential units can go on there. Very basic. The comp plan is kind of like our constitution, right? It's the basic rights that somebody would have, a property owner. It's like freedom of speech. The zoning are the rules and regulations that activate that land use. So the laws in a country that would dictate the freedom of speech, what you can and can't do, our zoning dictates what those rules and regulations are. So zoning is important because it establishes the best development patterns for that location. And that's why we put the zoning in place. There's residential zoning districts, but there's a lot of residential zoning districts. There's a single family, more dense, it's a townhome type of development, all the way up to multifamily and a really highly dense type of a multifamily. But those don't work every place. You know, they have to only work in certain locations. You want to be able to have compatible uses next to each other. So the zoning does that. And the zoning is those are the rules for when somebody comes in and wanting to develop. That's our land development code. That says this parking space has to be this size, this is how much parking you need, this is how much landscaping you need, this is how much stormwater you need. All of that stuff is tied to the zoning in our land development regulations.
Great. So basically, in a nutshell, you can't just put something wherever you want.
No,
as a developer, it's strategically
absolutely
placed.
And you know, it's you know, I'll tell you this: people, my staff especially, but I travel a lot. I do a lot of conferences, a lot of planning conferences, and planning folks are really dedicated to not only the environment, but they're dedicated to the community. They have a passion for it. They fight tooth and nail to get everything for the city to have a great project. And so that's where their passion is. Nobody is coming in saying, hey, let's give away the farm on these things. My staff and the planning folks hold these developers' feet to the fire. I've had people come in here, they want to do these big projects, and I look and I'm like, yeah, that's not going to happen. You've got single family in this area, we've got to respect the residents who are in this area. We're going to have a project over here that's going to be compatible and it's going to work for them as well. So that's what we look at. And we are always looking at the residents first. How is this impacting the residents that are in that area? Now, somebody owns property, they have property rights. They have rights to do things with that property. But we have to make sure that whatever happens with that property is going to work with the existing community. So that's something we're always working on.
Like I said, it's going to be a benefit for the community.
A benefit for the community.
And I'm really glad you've said this, because I think this is stuff that needs to be said, because sometimes I feel people just think that with the city we just check off blindly. We're just blindly checking development, but there's a process behind it. There is strategic planning behind it. It's not just checking the box, right? I mean, it's... No,
not at all. And it's, you know, we have long-range plans of where we see things going. It's, you know, questions, are we going to have enough water to be able to meet any growing demands? Well, we work with the utilities department to make sure that the facilities we have can accommodate the amount of people that we have in the community. So they have to be prepared for any growth that we have. So we sit with them, we go through all of the data. This is what all of the land use is in the city and the growth that we expect. And they're in a position to be able to meet those needs. This is what the TRT does as well. They'll look at all these projects that come in, and they'll determine, you know, do we have the water in this area to be able to supply this, and how do we do that? And if water lines need to be extended, it's on the developer to be able to do that. It's your property out there, you need to extend it. It's your cost of doing that. It's not the city's cost, it's not the people of Daytona Beach, it's not their cost. it's your cost to do that, because the city shouldn't be taking that on for the developer, and they don't.
All right. So for one of my last questions, all right, let's say we hop in a time machine, we go 40 years into the future. What are you hoping to see first, or what are you hoping to see in general in Daytona Beach?
Well, if it's like a location in the city, because there's parts of the city that I would love to see how it's going to turn out, you know, where it's going to be in the future. I love the core areas of the city, the Beach Street, Main Street, ISB. You know, where will ISB? Where will they be in development? ISB is difficult on the beach side. I mean, we've seen we've got a lot of property owners out there, and we can't force them to develop their properties. All we can do is encourage an environment.
Incentivize. You know, we've done so. I mean, look at the beautification project that's wrapping up now.
Absolutely. You know, you want somebody to come in and say, why wouldn't we develop over here? Look at everything that's going on. This is a great investment for us. So we create that environment, and hopefully we get that development to happen in that area. We'll help guide that development, what we expect over there. But I'd love to see ISB. I'd love to see what happens over there. But there's so many parts of the city, though. You know, I want to see what happens on the west side of the city. When it happens, you know, over by the stadium, by the International Speedway. We've seen fantastic. This is one of the biggest stadiums in the world, and everything around there. This is, you know, Daytona Beach is a fantastic place. I mean, where do you have such a stadium like this in the world?
You can fly in. I mean, you're flying in pretty much almost on the property of International Speed, or you know, of the World Center Racing, and you have the beach just a couple miles down the road.
It's fantastic. I want to see what happens. You know, we got great colleges here in Daytona Beach. BCU and Daytona State has done some fantastic things. Embry-Riddle, fantastic. The things they're doing at Embry-Riddle. The businesses that they're creating at Embry-Riddle that are staying local in this area, what is that going to do to the community?
Yeah, I'm excited to see the future for Daytona Beach.
This is jobs. This is good growth that we're seeing in the city, and I'm very excited about that. So all of these things happening, it's very exciting. I'd love to see a place. You know, if I came back in the future, I'd love to. For me, it's less about, you know, everything that's there. It's more about the people who are over here and people who enjoy living here and want to live here and brag about living here. I love living here. I think the community is fantastic. I love the people here. I'm always out and about. I'm always at these events because I enjoy it. I love music. I love live music, and you'll see me all over town at a lot of live music.
And we have so many, not just music or concerts, but free to the public too.
So many events that are going on that the city is putting on and that we have in the city that I'm surprised more people don't take advantage.
Different genres, different areas of the city between Midtown, Beachside. There's, we have.
It's fantastic. It's so dynamic, and I want people to be able to enjoy themselves when they're here in the city. And I think, you know, with everything we have, we've got a lot of great things. You know, it's easy to see some of the things that we need to work on. Every city needs to work on things. We have so many great things here in the city and so much to appreciate.
And now that I think about it too, when you mention about the growth, if I look at it as a human being, because I went through some pretty big growth spurts when I was a kid. Yeah. There's growth spurts and there's growing pains. I had tendonitis. I had some issues with my knees. That's part of growing, right? And I look at it as the same thing with the city. We are growing. There's going to be some growing pains, but you got to think at the end of the day, okay, once I grew and I was done growing, I became 6'6". I didn't have those issues anymore. Right. You know, it catches up. But there's always going to be some growing pains that happens, and I think we got to be patient as residents. Even me and myself have to be patient, knowing, okay, look at the bigger picture. Look what's coming here. Look at what the benefits and the impact is going to be, you know, overall for the entire community too. You know,
with the planning staff, what we do is we look at what's working and what's not working, and we're always making changes. If we see something that's not working, we remove it from our land development code. We're going to move in a different direction. So we're always looking to tweak these to make a better community, and that's part of our process too, is what can we do to make things better. And there are growing pains, and we learn from it. There are some things that I wouldn't do today that I maybe did before or wish I had done before, but that's part of the process. Right. And that's where public input is important, because public input helps to kind of mold where the city wants to go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they elect the city officials, and the city officials listen to the public. So if the public is really, you know, wants something, the city commissioners will direct staff to make those changes, and we will work to do that. It's really important. We've had some things come to the city commission, and they were like, okay, we need to make these changes. It's our job. We come back, we make the changes to our code, we bring it forward for a better community. We recognize that. We only get that when we get the input from the public. So we want to continue to hear that. We want the public to come out to the public meetings. We want them to come to the planning board. We want them to come to the redevelopment board meetings. Send me emails if you have questions about something. You know, a lot of people, I talk to people all the time. There's a lot of fear of you fear what you don't know. And when I can sit and explain something to somebody, and I can maybe take that fear away and explain exactly what it is we're looking at, I have no problem. One of the things I enjoy about my job, I love talking to people who have questions about projects or process or developments. If somebody wanted to give me a call, they can give me a call anytime. I would love to talk with people. For me, that's enjoyable to explain planning and what it is that we're looking and why
we're not very
doing.
secretive when it comes. I mean, we're very transparent. You know, we try to, even with like the developer initiated meetings, we might not always get the best feedback, but we post it on our social media. We want the public to know and go out there and hear about, you know, what development's coming. And like you said, you can attend the city commission meetings, the planning board meetings, the redevelopment board meetings. There's, and the fact that, you know, you're offering, you know, for people to call you, email you, ask questions, figure out what's going on. It just shows that it's that extra, that next step of transparency that I love to see.
We're not hiding anything. We just had a meeting with staff, and we said, how can we provide additional information on projects and process to the public? So we're looking at developing things that we can put on our website for some of the projects that are coming in that can answer a lot of the questions that people have, and the process. Why do we do what we do? To have it available for people online, because some people don't want to talk to anybody. They just want to go and find their information themselves. We want to have it available for them. If that's what they want, we want to have it there for them. If they want to call us, I'm more than happy to talk to people, and my staff is as well. So. Okay,
awesome. Anything else you want to add to the show? I appreciate you coming on. I know you're busy.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. It was a late night at City Commission last night. We were here till, the commission went till about 11:30. I left about 10:30.
I saw the CRA took up some good time too.
Yeah, all important stuff though. It's just, this is doing the work of the city, so this is what we do. I can't express enough how much I enjoy this community, how much this community has embraced me and my family. You know, my wife probably is known more than I am around town. She meets everybody, and she's wonderful. And I just, if we can make this community better for everybody living here, we've done our job, and that's what we're looking to do.
Awesome, very good. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have for today, folks. If you haven't done so already, like I've said before, please subscribe to us. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and the city's website at DaytonaBeach.gov/DB Unscripted. You can also follow us on all of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Nextdoor, YouTube, LinkedIn, and newly we are on Neighbors, which is under the Ring app. So if you haven't done so already, you can follow us on all of those platforms to stay up to date with everything that's going on with the city of Daytona Beach. So again, thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll see you for the next episode. Thank you.